What is up? This is Brandon Talks Movies here, bringing guys a Blu Ray update of what I picked up over the last few months. I haven't done an update, I think, over a couple months. I have an hour video of my last update. It was my Christmas update. I just haven't just been kind of busy and among other things. So I wanted to be able to get this all out. So a lot of it will be mix of new and stuff that I just haven't shown off. And then I started getting into anime. So I'll show most of the anime stuff I picked up. Some of it will be like things. A lot of it won't be. I don't think, if you're not into anime, and like I'm brand new to anime, so a lot of the stuff I picked up I watched before I bought, and I ended up liking them. Liked it a lot more than I thought I would. Some of it is very more adult, not like adult, but like it hints more in that direction, like it's TVMA where it's blood, there's nudity and all that kind of stuff. The nature of it, and I'll talk a little bit about each one of those, but I'll get into the movie side of the stuff first, since that's what I have on here. So one of the some early stuff that Studio 666. This is the Foo Fighters horror film that came out. I believe it was last year. Also, rest in peace to Taylor Hawkins. This is a good fashionable fun. It has there's a meta humor to it with the Foo Fighters doing it themselves. And then it's just like has a mix of Evil Dead type of stuff going on, which is really cool. It's a lot of fun. It's not gonna be for everyone in terms of the humor and just it's ridiculous, but I had a good time with this. Only bonus feature it has is with the gag reel, so I got this for I think $10. Still sealed. Next we got Violent Night with David Harbour. This was a good old time. I believe it's also just got announced for a 4K, so kind of wish I would have waited. And sometimes they do that so you'll pay more to upgrade, but it is what it is. But this is a good time too. I think there's only a couple characters in the movie that are kind of really annoying, and they're meant to be annoying, but they're still like you're just like, oh, can you get rid of the annoying people? But David Harbour is great. John Wick was almost really damn good. This is a pretty violent film. It's directed by the guy who Tommy Wiseau. I believe he did the Dead Snow films, and he also did the Hansel and Gretel with Jim Arterton and Jeremy Renner years ago, and they were supposed to do a sequel to that, but that never happened. But yeah, this is a good one. It has deleted extended scenes behind the featurettes and more. I believe there's a commentary on there as well, so definitely recommend checking this one out. The Realtors. This one I thought was interesting because it's a horror film. It also has a bunch of well-known rock stars. You got Five Finger Death Punch. You got Tommy Lee in there, Papa Roach, The Who, not Ice Nine Kills, Escape the Fate. And the way the movie sets it up, you think it's kind of just a slasher film, but then it becomes a revenge horror film, and it's interesting. I liked it. I didn't love it, but for the price, for like $10, it wasn't a bad deal. I think my expectations maybe were a little higher from what I've heard about this, so yeah, it does have, I believe, has a couple of has cast interviews, a theatrical trailer, and the Realtors music videos. Beyond Skyline, this is the sequel to the first Skyline film, but this one is written and directed by Liam O'Donnell, who was on the first one, but he did not direct the first one. This is a huge improvement on that first one. And there's also Skylines, and then there's a fourth Skyline in the works. I think that's in production. I don't know how far they're on production, but that's the last thing I've heard. You got the guy from, Frank Grillo from the Purge franchise, and then you got Iko Uwais from the Raid series, which he's really cool, really good in. This one visually, and it's much more action packed. It has an R rating. So this one's, I would definitely give this a watch. I got this on eBay for about $6 with the slip, which it's hard to find the slip cover actually, which is kind of, you would think it wouldn't be so hard, but I ended up finding it. Next we got Orphan First Kill. I think this is actually a pretty underrated prequel, which I didn't have any, my expectations were not, yeah, I didn't have expectations because, okay, you're bringing back the same actress, but it's 23 years later and it's a prequel. You have to try to do something different, and they do. There's a twist that you end up finding out, and you're just like, oh, that is actually a really good twist. I know there's some that didn't care. I know my family did not care for the twist, and I'm like, well, that's, again, for this movie to work, you needed something that, is a shocking something shocking, or something that makes it, make it, I guess, makes sense for there to be a prequel, especially when you're using an actress who's 23, about 15 years older than when she did this film. But I really liked it. I think the third act is where they use a little bit too much CGI towards the end, but overall, I think I had a good time. Julia Stiles is pretty good in here. The whole cast, but it was nice to see the actress Isabel Furman. She's pretty good, and the way they kind of tricked the camera, and the way they made her look like she was still kind of that age was pretty impressive. So yeah, I do recommend checking this one out. It's on Paramount Plus if you don't want to buy it, and I think it's on sale on Best Buy. It's now like $12 instead of $18, which this does not come with any special features. Keep that in mind, which is kind of unfortunate because I think they would have at least put it behind the scenes or a little something like that. Next we got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4K. I have not checked this out yet. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, some of these are still sealed. But I got it for, it was like 20 something. It was like $24 for a 4K. That's pretty good. And I have the 40th edition, but you can't put it. I had to put it on top of my shelf because it doesn't fit with all the other Blu Rays. So I wanted to pick this one up, and I like the slipcover. I'm not a big fan, like steelbooks. You have to be specific steelbook or for me to want to pick up. I'm not a big steelbook guy. I think part of it is also because all my stuff is a lot of it's non-steelbook. Unless it has to be like a Rob Zombie steelbook, and I actually I pre-ordered the 4K slip of The Flash in this 4Ks. But because I never got a chance to pick up the 4K steelbooks of the other films in the DCU, which I probably should have, just because of, like the Zack Snyder's Justice League 4K is like, you have to pay $50 or $60 to get that. And it's not the best looking one. Or the art is just not as great as like the 2017 Justice League steelbook, which is a comic by Jim Lee, comic style, I believe, by Jim Lee, which is the only reason you would want it, because the movie, yeah, I won't get into that, but yeah, this is an iconic film. I think this is my favorite of the franchise, though I do like the 2003 remake, and I like the prequel to the remake, and I like Leatherface. I do like a few of these films. I even enjoyed the 22 film, even though the way they used Sally in that film was a waste. There was no point. And that's just maybe on the casting, or just like, yeah, that just felt like they needed to do that for like how Halloween 2018 did. But what makes this really good is that even though people talk about how gory this is, it's not really gory, but they make it feel like it is. It feels, it's grimy, it feels real, and that's why it probably feels like it's more gory than it is. And it doesn't have to be gory, but it still gives you that R rating. It gives you that feel like, okay, it's really fucked up. And it's an off-putting movie for sure. It's not a movie you can go and re-watch probably all the time for certain people, but it's definitely in the collection. I do it, and on the Blu-ray, on the 4K it has bonus features. The new thing on the Blu-ray is the Legacy of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's the documentary, so that's why I also picked it up, because it has that. Definitely need to unseal that. Next we got the Fable Men. I have not finished this film yet. I've heard really good things, and from the first 20 minutes I watched of it, it's pretty good. Just, again, haven't had the time to really finish it. But this is based on Steven Spielberg's life. You got Seth Rogen in here. Michelle Williams is a really great cast. But yeah, I do need to finish this. It has a personal journey, family dynamics, and corrupting the world of the Fable Men. Next, The Whale, which was a fantastic film. I think so. I think it's really well acted. It's really well directed. Cinematography is really outstanding, especially when you're in a one location setting in an apartment, for it to look as good as it does, and the performances. I mean, especially Brendan Fraser and the makeup he's in, it's just really outstanding. The performance, Sadie Sink is really great, is really damn good in here, and she comes. And I know there's a mix of reactions with her. Is she likable or she's evil? I think I can see both sides. I think ultimately she's just hurt by when her dad left her, and that's kind of why she went down this way. And I know that's kind of, I guess, a standard thing. Well, of course, sometimes when your parents leave, and especially when it was like when she was 8 years old, so she knew. It wasn't like he left when she was like 1 or 2 or an infant. It was like when she was 8. And again, she can be very vile. She can be vile at times with the things she says to her dad, but so yeah, I can understand why people. But do you think you feel? I think that's also just it's just something she does just to keep that pain back, like just to not show her true feelings or whatnot, because Charlie believes in her and thinks she's smart and she's beautiful. That, he takes it all from her, and it's hard to watch at times, and then you also got his friend who takes care of him, Hong Chow. She's really good in here. Ty Simpkins is also in here. I didn't care for his character in this film. I think he's the one character I dislike actually the most of anyone in this film. So this won't be for everyone, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. Happy for Brendan Fraser getting an Oscar for this. People are amazing making The Whale. Scores of the Sea, scoring The Whale. This was based on a play, I believe. Next, we got the second Children of the Corn remake, but it's more, it's not a direct remake. Like, it's more of a prequel in a way, more than a remake of that original film story. This was disappointing, but I paid only $3 for this, so I went in with an open mind. It just didn't feel like there was enough. And some of the adults felt kind of lame in here because they let these kids do what they wanted. Pretty much, they didn't have a backbone. It was kind of like, I didn't believe that a lot of these kids were able to do that. There's a scene where you're just like, okay, really? There's some really cool visual moments, especially the very end, and the little girl's really good. But this was just a waste of potential. This was directed by Kurt Wimmer. This was written and directed by Kurt Wimmer. He did that Christian Bale film, Equilibrium, which I think is pretty solid. But yeah, this movie just in the special features only deleted scenes. This is one of the first movies that was filming during COVID. I think because it was a low budget film, they were able to. And it didn't release until this year, so this is technically a 2020 film, but didn't release until now. Yeah, this was is it the worst of the franchise? No, but it's just so disappointing. It's really disappointing. Like, if they're gonna try this again, you have to go to a studio like Blumhouse not the big. I'm mixed on Blumhouse to a degree, but to be fair, I think to get a decent remake out of Children Like Corn at this point, you might have to go there. I would even say probably I would even go to A24, even if it'd be more art house style. That would probably be better than what a lot of these things straight to Blu-ray release have been. Next we got Chucky season 2. Have not watched this yet. I've heard a lot of mixed things on this, which I think is interesting. But then again, some of those things do involve, like, this is going to be as crazy as maybe like Seed of Chucky, which I'm not a big fan of. Seed of Chucky, I don't hate it, but it's definitely bottom tier for me just because the humor I don't think it works. Some of the things I just didn't care for Seed, but I wanted to give this a shot. I liked season 1, so I wanted to give this a shot. So, and I want to have this in the collection, obviously, collecting all the horror stuff. Next we got Christmas, Bloody Christmas. This is another Shudder release, exclusively to Shudder. This is really cool. This kind of has, it's like a more violent Terminator mixed with, I forget what they would call it. But it's really good. I like the main actress. This is really shot really well. The cinematography, the atmosphere, the lighting is just really damn awesome. And when it gets violent, it's violent. There's definitely sex in here. And it's directed by Joe Biggis, who did this vampire movie that was a trippy vampire movie. I forget what it was, but I really dug that. So I think this is not as good as that. But this is a good fun time. So I would recommend it. Has behind the scenes of it, this SFX of Bloody Christmas and the cast of Bloody Christmas. So next we got Infinity Pool. This is so far my favorite horror film of the year. We'll see if that changes with like Saw 10, Nun 2. I don't think Nun 2 is going to be up there, but I'm going to give that a shot. But this one, definitely, between this and Talk to Me, I really are my two favorites so far. This one just is a little more weird, because the story it tells in the sci-fi element in this film and the performances. Like, Talk to Me is great, but I think because it still has that possession element, like, but that was also unique for the possession element. So these are two really unique films for what they're trying to do. But this is a little more. I know the 4K uncut comes out on August 29th, which I'm probably going to pick up, which is really annoying. But 4K is also going to have the special features on it, which the only reason really to pick this up is for the slipcover. But yeah, I do recommend it. It's not going to be for everyone, but I did like it. Next, we got Cocaine Bear. This is definitely a good old time. Oh, I really like this. I think this has a rewatchability factor. It's so much fun. Some people don't think it goes too far. I think it did enough to where, like, it was I think it went far enough to where they I think it went far enough. I think maybe the third act you could have added a little bit more. And obviously the cop character with the dog, I didn't care for that storyline, not because it was poorly acted or anything. I think it was the least interesting story plot, along with the partner he leaves it where that ties, and that was I felt like you could see that coming. I mean, you could see that coming or whatever, but it just wasn't interesting. Everything else was interesting. It's funny. The kids are great in it. The cast is really great, and it was good to see Ray Liotta in here. And this has commentary. This has behind the scenes, alternate ending, deleted scenes, gag reel, and more. Next, this was an eBay pick. I some of the stuff I got off of eBay, some in store. But this one I ordered off eBay, got it for a decent price. It was like going for 80. I got it for 60. And knowing how the rights are working with this film right now and how it just seems unlikely we're going to get a re-release of this film anytime soon, and that is Dogma. I had to pick this up for the price. The guy offered me literally $54 for this. And I'm like, and it's like new. It's not sealed, but it's pretty much sealed. It was like, I think he said it was like used once, and that was it. And yeah, I had to pick this up. I think this is my first Kevin Smith movie I watched. Now, obviously at that time I didn't know who Kevin Smith was. Even in the movie, I didn't know that was Kevin Smith until later on, obviously. Because I watched this when I think it was in '99 or something, like obviously around when it came out. So. But this is funny, and it has, it talks about religion, but in a funny kind of way, and not meaning to be offending, but it's also, it's, criticizing it a little bit, but in an entertaining way. Even there's an opening sequence about it in a way, and it's just like Kevin Smith was told, you gotta put something in there to make it, to tell people that you're not trying to be like this, and like, okay, and he came out with something funny. The cast is great. You got Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Linda Floriento. I heard she was hard to work with, I guess, on this film. I forget if that was her. Chris Rock, Alan Rick, the late, great Alan Rickman, Jason Mewes, Jason Lee. I mean, this is just a great... This is one of the funniest movies you'll ever see. And it's a really cool film. Definitely recommend it. It has cast commentary, technical commentary, deleted scenes, Hillary's cast allocates, a commercial, and storyboards from 3 major scenes. Yeah, definitely recommend that. Next, we got Scream 6 on 4K. This was really damn good. I don't know where I had this placed. I do agree, I do understand the criticism of the third act where the reveals. One of them I feel like was kind of lame. And spoiler, it's the Jack Champion character who played Spider in Avatar, the new Avatar film. Yeah, to me, he was quite obvious. Like, they really made it obvious. Like, I know they were trying to play it off as like, oh, it's not him, but then it ended up being him, and it's like he was one of them. I'm like, don't do that. Like, if you're gonna say it's, don't act like it's not him, but then it ends up being it. Like, please don't do that, because it's the most obvious thing you can do with a character like that, especially it just, and it's definitely bloodier. I wish they handled the Courtney Cox character better in terms of what happens. I think they needed to have a finality to that character in here, but obviously they kind of skated around that. I love seeing Hayden Panettiere in here. Melissa Barrera is really damn good in here. I think she's much more comfortable. She had a much better, direction in this, or I think she just, again, I think felt more comfortable. What she was reading, her dialogue felt more natural compared to that first one, where there's a couple scenes with her and her sister just didn't feel as organic or genuine as much. It felt kind of, didn't seem like, I think she was good in the first one, but a couple scenes in the hospital, like I said, with Jenna Ortega, didn't feel genuine. There was something about it just seemed off. Here it just feels genuine, and it feels like, okay, now you're getting into the groove of this. I like the whole core four. It's great casting, but great chemistry. I think ultimately, just though, that third act is probably where it will hinder some people's enjoyment. Ultimately, we'll see where Scream 7 goes, which will now be directed by Christopher Landon, who did Freaky, the Happy Death Day movies, and everyone keeps on forgetting this, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse. Don't sleep on that one. That one is actually a lot more entertaining, and it's pretty fucked up, and it's gory. So I think the one thing people were worried is about the humor for Scream 7, and yeah, I can understand that when you watch those Freaky and those other films with the humor, but I think they'll know you can't go too much like that, those style of humor, but yeah, there's commentary, there's behind the scenes stuff. I definitely would recommend this for sure. This just recently came out, and I ordered off of eBay because I got a good deal on it. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the end of this team of Guardians and James Gunn run as director for the Guardians films. Obviously now, because he runs DC Studios, this is the best of the trilogy, in my opinion. And for me, it goes 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I know. I think because it's such a personal story and it doesn't feel as connected to the MCU. Whilst obviously it's connected, because especially that first one, especially. What I liked about these films in general is that they're not as tied. They're tied, but they're not outside of that first one where they do with the stones and Thanos. Here, it doesn't feel like that. This feels like it's their own story, and it's just so personal. And I do enjoy. And this is Rocket's story, and it's such a beautiful. It's a haunting and tragic in some ways, and it's hard to watch at times of the cruelty in it that he was treated. And all the characters I think shine. Obviously, I love Nebula, Karen Gillan's Nebula, where she's come from that first one to here. Mantis is really good. Dave, I think, is funny here, but I think he also means really well. I think he's done a good job. I know he's had some criticisms, I believe, with the he doesn't always like to be the butt of the joke kind of thing. He wanted to be a bit more serious in that. And I think they do a good job here, even with some of the humor they give him. Gamora was the character that was the most interesting aspect. Because, again, remember when you're watching Avengers Endgame, the Gamora we get from that is the one from the first movie before she meets Quill. And so this is where he's still dealing with the loss of his Gamora, not the Gamora that's in this film, because she's now with the Ravengers. And it's an interesting way to end that story with them, at least for right now. We don't know. At this point, it doesn't seem like her or Batista will be coming back anytime soon. If they wanted to continue, Pratt maybe, I think, could come back. But I think it was an interesting choice. I know some people probably were a little disappointed that they didn't get that. But look here, if it's gonna feel forced, I don't want that. Not because a force will be terrible, but it just doesn't feel genuine. And realistically, when you look at this Gamora, she's not attached to Peter. This is not the Gamora that he knew until Infinity War. That one, she's gone, and in a way, I do appreciate they didn't force this Gamora, who's nothing like that Gamora. Yeah, I appreciate that. I like, it's, it does hurt, but it's also Quill having to learn to probably be on his own, and he goes, going back to Earth, eventually going back to Earth. I think it's a nice send off, and everyone gets that nice send off, and I would love more of these characters, but we'll see more Guardians, I think, but not obviously the same team, and we'll see who will be the next one to do one of these. It's really well directed. It's really, visually it's impressive. Again, I think it's pretty well written, and I know a lot of people are not going to agree with that, or people who hate James Gunn, but I have to admit, this is a really great. This is my favorite trilogy in the MCU. The one caveat here, the one negative, I guess you would say, or the one really big mixed aspect is the Will Poulter as Adam Warlock. From what I've heard, that's not the Adam Warlock a lot of people wanted. I don't know too much about him, so I can't say. I think Will Poulter gave what he could, and yeah, they don't give him a lot to do in this film. And there's a deleted scene that goes even further with what he wants to, like. It's kind of funny, but they obviously they cut that, but yeah. It comes with commentary. It has some behind the scenes. They talk about, all the cast talks about the 3 films. Yeah, definitely would recommend this if you're an MCU fan, but if you just like a really good story, that is a really good one. Next, we got My Best Friend as a Vampire. This is a underrated gem from the 80s, late 80s. It's about a kid who's kind of a nerd. Hasn't got a he wants to find a relationship kind of thing, and he gets invited to this house by this older he gets to this new house that deliver food, and it's this older woman that seduces him and invites him to a date, and she ends up biting him, and he ends up turning into a vampire, and it's just really about him becoming to be the best vampire he be. His best friend tries to, like, you know, kill him, and then he goes out with this girl. He can't eat garlic, and it's a really cheesy film for sure, but it's a good time. I enjoyed it. I remember watching this, I think, on TV one day. I think it was on HBO years ago, like really a while. I really enjoyed this. I was glad this was coming to Blu Ray. So yeah, I definitely would recommend this. Has audio commentary, conversation with the writer and producer, production executive, gabbing with Grimst, with Paul Wilson. So yeah, you got a lot. And you got a teaser trailer, photo gallery. So that's it for that side. Well, next we got Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. This is a I wouldn't say controversial. This is an interesting take on the Winnie the Pooh franchise. If you guys didn't know, this actually did release into AMC theaters earlier this year. I actually went to go see this, and I had a good time. Like, this is not an Oscar winner. This is not a best. It's none of that. What this is an idea to make a character we know and love, or a character that we know as this childhood thing, and then turning into just a slasher film. And I got a kick out of it. Now, this was made on a budget of $700,000, and it was shot in 8 days. So, obviously, what they did was they did a mix of their human and creature. And obviously, they kind of had to do that because they couldn't make them full creatures. Obviously, with the budget they have, they can't. You only could probably do so much, and I don't know how that looked if they did it full creature. But the masks of, at least with Pooh, his mask looked like it was actually like, you know, it's not a mask because the mouth moves. That's what I was impressed with in the film, was when he opens his mouth. That it, like, because it's a rubber mask, but I think they actually made it to where he can open the mouth to make it look like that's his face. It's not a mask. Which, again, you know it's a mask, but at the same time, it feels like they try to make it as real as possible. Piglet, I think, is not as interesting, just because he just, you know, looks like a, you know, it's, you know, a pig with horns. It doesn't feel like Piglet, but again, you can only do so much. I know they were supposed to have technically Tigger, but he wasn't part of, he's still a part of the, there's something about, like, he wasn't part of the public domain yet or something like that, so they couldn't use him. But that was the reason why they did this, was because Winnie the Pooh went public domain, a certain right for at least the 1926 book went to public domain. So that's why they were able to do that. They're currently going to be starting to film the sequel on August 26th, I believe. So later this month. They say it's going to be gorier and stuff like that. They're also doing a Bambi one. They're doing a Cinderella one. They're doing a Peter Pan one of horror, violent. I thought this was shot really well. The cinematography is pretty good, and it's, again, like I said, shot well. It's cheap. It's not what you're. Is it, like, acting wise? Yeah, it's nothing special, but I think just it's the gimmick that's interesting, and see where it can go. And I thought they did it well enough. Audio commentary with director Rise Frank Waterfield and cinematographer Vince Knight. Behind the scenes, bloopers, deleted scenes, Winnie the Pooh, Violins and Honey, fan art, and trailer. So the Violins and Honey is they show you them putting a violin into a honey, and it, like, there's a interesting thing on that. Behind the scenes is not much, because they show you scenes of how they're making, but there's no talking, but there is a commentary. So I do recommend checking this out just for the hell of it. But I wanted to own it, so There is the Scream Factory Steelbook coming out in October. I believe they said there's also going to be an American standard release, so I'll probably still end up picking up one of those. But again, I have it. Depending on how the art works, this is my favorite looking art actually of it. I didn't care for the Steelbook art, so. Next, we got Team America World Police, one of my favorite action comedies, parodies, what you ever want to call it. And they got this is the second Blu-ray release. The first Blu-ray release was just the movie. There was nothing on it. This comes with the special features that came from the DVD, so it's nothing like new, but at least all the special features, the behind the scenes, that stuff is on here now, which I'm happy about because that's like, I like going back and rewatching that kind of stuff. Also, it's a remaster from a 2023 4 scan of the original camera negative. That's new. Also, it comes with an unrated and theatrical cut. So here's the theatrical and here's the unrated. The unrated adds in a minute. It's a minute more, and the sex scene is a bit longer. There's I think they even talked about this. They purposely made the sex scene so over the top to where they just had to cut that and made it R-rated. So the scene they cut out, it has to do with, I won't say, but it's like, yeah, that wasn't. I don't think that was ever gonna make it to theaters, but they obviously did that on purpose, and they put it back here They put it on the Blu-ray finally, because the only way you could see the unrated cut was either probably somewhere on YouTube, or it was the $5.99 DVD. But I'm glad, and this is coming from Shout Factory. Again, I wish they could have got a commentary with Trey and Matt, because they did that for South Park. I would like to hear more, but again, I'm glad they were able to re-release this with special features and that unrated cut, so I'll take that. Next we got Sisu. This is a war film about, killing Nazis. So it's about this guy who finds this gold, and it gets stolen, and he wants revenge, and he goes out and kills Nazis. That's pretty much what the story is. In Northern Finland, I had a good time with it. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to, but I still think it's a good time. It's violent. It's entertaining. The villain, I think, is interesting for a Nazi. I think the performances from the main guy and the main Nazi leader, I think, are really good. The main guy really doesn't. I don't think he says accept anything until like the end, I believe. So it's one of those kind of performances. So it's a good time, and it's a good runtime at 91 minutes. So it's worth checking out. Next, we got Resident Evil Vendetta, the 4K. Because I had the other two on Blu-ray, I figured I'd pick this one up because the Dead Island one just came out to 4K and Blu-ray. But fortunately, they did not release a 4K regular slip, so I don't know when I'm gonna pick that up, because the Blu-ray doesn't even have the slipcover to it, so it kind of sucks not having that. When you have this on the 4K and it has a slip, but I haven't watched those other two yet, so I just wanted to pick this up for, it's like $8 on eBay. So, and it's a big fucker. Kind of crazy they still had some of these at some point. So let me know what you guys thought of this. I'm gonna check those out. I know those are like connected somewhat to the games, I believe. So next we got Project Wolf Hunting. This, I think, is a really entertaining film. This is a bloody good time. While heavily underground, these dangerous conflicts are on a ship, and they start killing all the people on board, the officers that were to contain them. But then there's even something much more brutal on board than anyone thought there was. It's really crazy, and especially how it ends, you're like, really, this is. And I think this was a 2-hour. This is a 2-hour movie as well, so it's kind of. It's a good time. If you like your bloody carnage, this is definitely the perfect. Like, there's some really good villain performances in there as well. we got this vampire movie called Thirst. It's from Park Chan-wook, who did Lady Vengeance, Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, or Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, Old Boy, Lady Vengeance, and Stoker. This is the first film I've seen from it. It is a really take on the vampire genre, because it deals with more of with a disease, and this priest volunteers, and he becomes infected and starts becoming a vampire. But it's much more darker and much more weird than what you would come to with a vampire movie. I think it's definitely really interesting. It's worth checking out. And then he has an affair with his friend from school's wife, because the husband is sick, and it's a really interesting film. I liked it because it was so different from a lot of vampire stuff I've seen before, that you see before. And it's hard to say that. So next we got Creed 3. This is my favorite of the trilogy because it's the personal story of Michael B. Jordan's character. I liked, Jonathan Majors' performance. Tessa Thompson's really good in here. The fighting sequences had some of it is like anime. He took some anime stuff and added in here. I think that's really impressive. I just think this was just a really damn good film. I just like that personal story aspect. I think that's what really worked here. I know some people were disappointed Sylvester was in on this one, but that's a whole nother set of issues besides that. But really good film, I think. Then we got Renfield. This was a really good surprise, and this was a bloody ass good time. Not what I was expecting. I love the opening sequence where it starts off like you're in the 1930s Dracula. Like literally they did that. It's really impressive. Nicholas Hoult is really good in here. Nicolas Cage as Dracula he plays it really damn well, and it's not as over the top as you think it is. He does enough of it over the top, but enough being tame. Like it's really weird. It's not him over the top, but he does enough to where like he plays it really well. It's really impressive, and how the story deals with toxic relationships and that in a really well organic way that just fits into this kind of with the Dracula and the Renfield story. It's really great. I think the only story that doesn't is the Awkwafina story, but that's more have to do with the boss, the cops, and the gangsters, or whatever you want to call it, the mob element to it. I think Awkwafina was solid in here. I know she's not a lot of people's favorites, but I don't think she was bad in here. I think she was solid. This also has special features, deleted scenes, alternate takes, Dracula and Cage. I believe there's also a commentary for this, so check that out. Next, we got Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Again, DC guy here. I mean, I collect a lot of the superhero stuff, so but I'm mainly DC, and I had to pick this up for collection purposes. I did enjoy this. I saw this twice. I really liked it. I think I prefer this over the first, just because of the third act in here and some of the certain elements in this film I preferred, especially getting to see more Demon Hansu's wizard. I liked in his with him and Freddy. We don't get enough of Asher Ashley's Billy in here as much. I like the cast. I'm outside, I think Levi's fine in the role. I don't hate his I mean, I get people's issues with more just in general the comments you said about how people did not want to go see this, but I don't think people just didn't have interest. This just insulted them, and obviously, it's still supposed to be connected to the DCEU, and I know you have a cameo in here that's supposed to tie it in, and it just feels, it felt kind of, for some people, it felt like half-assed, and it's just like, oh yeah, you're just, but I still had a good time with this. It has commentary by director David Ann Sandberg and over 90 minutes special features in the Blu Ray. So, again, I enjoy that. Again, like I say, think I prefer it over the first, but next we got Babylon. This is a very underrated film. I think this movie got hate. Like, I get it. It's 3 hours 8 minutes long. It's just fucking crazy. It's, you know, it talks about Hollywood in a good, the bad, and the ugly kind of ways. The performance though from Robbie, Pitts, Diego, Calva, those three are really damn good in this film, and it's just like, I still remember the scene where they had to keep, when it goes to starting talkies, and they had to keep on doing retakes and stuff like that. That was one of the best scenes in the film. And I also like the scene where Brad goes to talk to I think it's Jean Smart, where she tells him that your career's done at this point, but you're gonna be remembered. That's a really great scene. The Tobey Maguire stuff in the third act. Oh my god, that was horrifying. Like, you know, everyone gives their all in here. I think this is a great film. In my opinion, and not everyone's going to agree, but I think this is just really damn good. I think it's my favorite Damien Chazelle film. It has a barorama canvas called Babylon, the costumes of Babylon, scoring Babylon, deleted and extended scenes. I wish there was a commentary for this, but next we got this horror film called The Long Nights with Scott Taylor Compton from Halloween and Halloween 2, Rob Zombies, and Nolan Gerard Funk, who's been he did a movie called Spectacular on Nickelodeon in 2009. He was on Glee for a few episodes. He was in Vin Diesel's Riddick. He's been in a few things that I remember, and I've always liked him as an actor, but he hasn't got I think this is a pretty decent film. I think it does have that cult vibe to it. It's a cult film, and I think it ends in a way that you expected it to, so it kind of doesn't do anything new in that aspect. But I think it's interesting. That I think the acting is pretty good. Visually, I like and especially when they go to the weird imagery. Scout does, when she gets possessed or starts going crazy, she's just really good at that. And Nolan, I think, gives a good performance as her, you know, her boyfriend. I feel like there's a story plot where they kind of skip over, or they just tell you when, you know, they're supposed to go visit his parents, and then she's like mad in the car. You don't get any of that. You just get that in dialogue exposition, which is kind of like, you wish you got a little more of that. But and then you also got Jeff Fahey in a small role, and same as Tabor Kara Uger, but I think they were good for the couple the scenes they were in. But yeah, no, this was I enjoyed it. It has a commentary, a short film, a trailer, and then some behind the scenes, looking at the birthing, the look, and the score. So I thought it was decent for $10. I thought, and then I picked up season 1 and season 2 of Superman and Lois. I've watched the full season of season 1, and I know I've seen parts of season 2. And I know season 3 comes out to HBO Max soon, so I can't wait to check that out. I actually enjoyed this a lot more than I thought I was going to, so I wanted to pick these up for the prices I was able to. So let me know what you guys thought of those. Okay, so that's it for the live action, really the live action stuff. So now I'll get through these quickly and then get to the anime portion. So, got Justice League Dark, Batman Gotham by Gaslights, Justice League Throne of Atlantis. Some of these are upgrades to 4K. The deluxe edition of Batman The Long Halloween. So this is it's both parts of, it's 168 minutes, and I really like that. Justice Society, really good. Green Lantern, Boo Where My Power, a little mixed on them, but I think I enjoyed it mostly. Legion of Superheroes, really good. I think it's pretty good from what I've heard, they skip over parts or whatnot. Batman: The Killing Joke. I liked it the first time I watched it. When I went back to it, I like the Killing Joke stuff. I don't like the Barbara Gordon Batman stuff. That's just stuff that just felt really rushed, or just they threw that in. I don't know if that was part of the Killing Joke story. So, but that part I know a lot of people didn't care for either. Batman Hush, didn't care for the reveal of who the killer was. And then Batman Assault. This was the Suicide Squad film before Suicide Squad, and this was this is, I think, really got the knowledge from me for Suicide Squad, but this was an upgrade. Also because it had the slipcover. I like the slipcover. So yeah, that's all the DC animated films. Now, going again to the anime portion, and I'm gonna go quick. Monster Museum. This is a TVMA. It's about and I checked, and like I said, I checked all these out before I bought these. So it's about a host family, or the government acknowledges now these demi-humans can go visit America or Japan or whatever it is, but they have to stay with the host family. They can't have relations, kind of things like that. And the one we're introduced to Mila with her host family, the main guy, and she's a half snake, half girl, and it's just about, she has a feeling, she has feelings for him, and there's a lot of different kind of things that go on, and then it's also about him getting a whole house of these different types of girls, and then at one point the government agent says, "Oh, you can marry one of them." And the opening credits actually show you a wedding and them all their wedding dresses, and he has to pick one of them, kind of thing. That does not get resolved. I'll just tell you that right now. That does not get resolved. There's only 12 episodes, and they don't resolve that. That's just how anime works. And I don't know if this was based on a light novel or whatnot. So keep that in mind. Some of these may not get that full ending to it. I thought this was really interesting. I like that aspect of the immigration kind of element to this. Again, there are lewd things in here, so keep that in mind. This won't be for everyone. And they do some of these. There's another show that does this. They have these kind of shots, like it's going to commercial, and they show you try to show you one of the girls in a sexy pose. I believe they have that in here, so they'll have that a little bit here, which is a little whatever. I could do without those, but enjoyed this enough, and for the price, it was like $18. Yeah, anime is not the most cheap. This is the one that I really need to rewatch, Trinity Lost. This guy's been looking for his cousin who was lost or whatever, and so he has to go, he has to go to the school for magic or whatever, and he meets all these girls. It's called 7 Deadly Sins, 7 Female Magic Masters, and 1 Demon Lord Cabinet. Again, I watched this on Anime 9 online or whatever. I liked enough of it. This is TV 14, so it's not but there's some lewd stuff in here, but apparently it's TV 14. I don't know what the big if this felt like a TVMA thing. So this one I don't recommend as highly, so I don't know. That one again, that just tells you how I probably really felt about it, but I want to own it still, just if I ever wanted to rewatch it. Absolute Duo. I haven't finished this one. I like this one enough. Again, if I could find good prices on anime, because a lot of if I like it enough and there's a good price, I'll pick it up. And it also comes with a digital as well. So this is TVMA as well. So there's adult situations like nudity, or just playful, love, or just those kind of situations. So it's just okay, well, there's never sex in these things, like full-on sex scenes or anything like that. So it's just more like seductive or lewd or just like hinting at. Never done. This one you can just skip. This is just 2 episodes. Really, it's an hour. And it tells about a vampire hunter who gets supposed to get with Lilith, or Lilith is supposed to get with this vampire hunter, give birth to their child, and she's supposed to kill both of them to bathe in their blood or something like that. And again, like I said, it's only an hour, so 2 episodes, and yeah, that's it. All I know. So that one is the worst thing out of there. Another World, Another Smartphone. It's about a guy named Toya who gets accidentally killed by God and but he gets reincarnated into another world, and then he starts meeting all these girls, and he has a smartphone. Eventually season 2's already ended, so he ends up getting in this world. He can have more than one wife, so all these girls get engaged. All these girls right here, except for the one with the thing. All these girls. Actually, 4 of them in there get married in season 1, and then he ends up getting engaged to 3 more in season 2. So yeah, 7. They say he's supposed to ultimately have 9 wives. So yeah, it's that kind of story. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's funny. And he's really like, he's not ready to get married, but he gets pushed into doing this. In a way, so I think that makes it more entertaining. The final episode of season 2, they want to give him a kiss, but then they're embarrassed. It's kind of really weird how they handle that. But that's season 2. But it's entertaining, and again, good price. This one I really like. This one's called Wise Men's Grandchildren. It's about a guy named Shin, who gets killed by a car accident, gets reincarnated as a baby, and then he gets rescued by Merlin, and then he's trained by Merlin, a magician, until he's 15. He goes to school. He knows all these kind of magic, even much more than he. And he goes to the school where he meets all of his technical cousin, and then he meets his love interest, Sicilian, and that's a cute kind of relationship right there, where it's not about like, it's just cute, and it's sweet. For the 12 episodes, I don't know if there's gonna be a season 2. The way it sets it up, there should be a season 2, I hope, but it's been 4 years, I believe, since this first season, and knowing how anime it can take a while for even like this next series. I'm gonna show you guys. Just came out with season 2, or technically season 3 episodes coming out now, but it's still part of season 2, which is really interesting. They're calling it, so it's season 2B, or I don't know. The second season didn't come out until like 9 or 10 years later, so it's possible. But yeah, this is a really good anime. This is on Crunchyroll. It's on Hulu, so if you want to check this out, I'll let you know which ones. I think the ones I've shown so far, 3, 4 of them are on Hulu. One's on, or most of you can find on Crunchyroll, but the Trinity Lost is subtitled on Crunchyroll. So, and I try watching dub stuff. So, everything else can be on Crunchyroll, or it'll be on High Dive, I believe. Next, we got The Devil, the Part-Timer. I have season 2 around here somewhere, but yeah, this is a really good season. This is a TV-14, just like Wise Men's Grandchildren. So this one is not as as lewd or anything like that. It's about the devil and this hero who gets stuck in Earth, and they have to live normal lives. Like the devil right here, he works at a McDonald's. It's supposed to be a McDonald's, And her, she wants to stop him from destroying the world, whatever, from their old life. But it's kind of it's more than that. Like, he shows he doesn't kind of want to be that in a way. But yeah, it's a really cool anime. I really enjoy it. Again, this is on Hulu as well and on Crunchyroll. So now this is the series that I first watching on Hulu when I wanted to get into anime or different anime that's not My Hero, Pokemon, Digimon, like something else, like, and that is High School DxD. This is, I guess, a well-known, and this is what you call a harem anime. It's about a guy named Issei who loves girls. He's a perv in a way. Like, they even say filled by the fires of perversion on the back of this one. Good thing I was blurred. So, his friends are even probably worse than he is. His friends are the two characters I don't like throughout the show, but they're not there all the time. But it's about him. He finds a girl that asks him out, and he says yes, takes her on a date, and he gets killed, and he has to be brought back by a devil named Rias, who's the redheaded girl. She's a devil, and he becomes a devil, and then throughout the series, he finds out that he has this power inside of him that fallen angels want to kill him for, because he becomes the Red Dragon Emperor. Throughout the series, it shows that, again, you have all these different girls, Akuno, Kaneko, and yeah, there's a lot of scenes of them in the nude. You see their breasts, And the actress who voices Rhea said they had to come up with different types in the commentary, had to come up with different names for boobs. So I guess you would say this is a typical male fantasy kind of thing, I guess. I know it's based on a novel, a manga novel, so I know that. I was really, when I first watched it, I was kind of like, whoa, what am I watching here? Like, this is a lot. But obviously it does have that mix of that supernatural, the devil, angels, that kind of stuff, where I was like, okay, it has this stuff. It's not just... Now, Issei, his power is, anytime he, like, anything about boobs or anything like that, it gets him more powerful, which is so ridiculous, and it's so ridiculous, and it's just, like, it's entertaining, but he's kind of a likable kind of guy like that. Like, most guys would be just douchebags, and I think with anime like this, you have to make the protagonist at least likable enough, even if they're... And this is one of the few guys that actually will just... He tries to... and there's situations where he could, have them, or, do something. Like, Rias in one episode says, I want you to take me. And it doesn't happen. Like, obviously it's not going to happen. Even with a show like this, it won't happen. It's more of the suggested stuff, and just, like, ideas. But it's also to show, like, there's, he tells himself, like, he can't think about this, and he tries to, like, but he knows that he's just that kind of, he just likes girls, and he wants to be harem king, where you have more than one, it's multiple girls, which is ridiculous. It's not real. This is total fantasy, and which makes, obviously, it's the only thing how that would, I mean, you never know, I guess, but I'm just saying that's just typical. This is just fantasy. But I think he really, truly just loves Rias. I know I'm getting into a tangent, but that's kind of what it is. And they have different storylines and other characters, arcs that deal with the devil, with the priests and stuff like that. So it's interesting enough where it's not just that, but there are stuff that go a little much. It's fan service. It's one of the things is sexy fan service is what it's called. Fan service focused. Yeah, it is what it is. So keep that in mind. These are not going to be for everyone. I enjoyed them enough. Like, I've been able to rewatch, and, you know, if I need to skip stuff, I will. This one is the one that I think goes a little bit further than that. And it's called The Testament of Sister New Devil. It's about a guy named Basra, whose father just got remarried, apparently, and he has 2 stepdaughters now, and, you know, Basra now has 2 stepsisters. But that's not the case. They end up being, one's the daughter of the devil, and then the other one is a succubus named Maria. Mio is the daughter of the devil or whatever. And eventually they come to an agreement that he would protect them, that he's their little sisters, which is something that's just apparently in anime, I guess, like this, or just in general, there's always a sister brother, even if they're not actual brothers and sisters, because, yeah, they didn't actually even get married, but whatever. And Maria puts tells him to do this master servant lock. But what happens is that because Mio didn't, you know, kiss Basra's hand, because it was supposed to be on her, it was supposed to be on Mio, but it got screwed up because Maria put her aphrodisiac kind of effect on her, so on Mio. So if she ever feels a certain way, like in a mean way, she has to be kind of, Basra has to help her in a way, not fully all the way, but just like help her to feel better, you know. Again, like because with a succubus, it's a seduction type of thing, or it gives this powerful lewd effect, and kind of like that. And he's part of this hero corps where they're supposed to protect the world from from people like this, but he wants to defend them. There's also another character that grew up with him that wants to be a part of this as well. So that's kind of, and it does show more things, a little more risque, I would say, even more than what High School DxD did. Because there's a couple scenes that do that, and I don't remember if they do. I think they do that kind of photo thing to the commercial break, and they show sex. I don't think they do that here. Don't remember. But they do that in High School DxD, which is a little more annoying, just because, like, I don't need to, you don't need to do that again. But that's just kind of how that anime. So this is I think this goes a little more further in terms of certain things. While Basra is not the wants to be harm king, or like always has boobs on the brain kind of thing aspect, but there's some other things that it goes a little further. So entertaining, and again, it was like $17 again to have the series. So it's 2 seasons right there. So now I'll go a little bit further or faster, because already an hour. We got Chivalry of a Failed Knight, Shimitar, the boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Again, all these stuff I watched before I picked these up. How clumsy are you, Miss Eno? These are 12-minute shorts, or 12-minute episodes of this girl just trying to get her love interest to do lewd things, but it's done in a kind of cheesy, kind of innocent way, because they're supposed to be like accidents or whatever, or what happens to her. Dragnar Academy, Gamers, and Devil is a Part-Timer Season 2. We got Shirobako. And you thought there was never a girl online. The Rosario Sario Vampire complete series. Now these are live action films. Death Note, Death Note double feature, Death Note, and Death Note: The Last Name. Death Note: Light Up the New World. Movies, we got Silent Voice, Popo the Cinephile, My Hero Academia World's Hero Mission 3, the third one, and the Cheryl Balko movie. This does not have a dub, it's a sub, so that kind of sucked, but... And then we got the Grin Man and the Guyver. So yeah, that's all the anime I picked up, which is kind of crazy to think about. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 titles of just series, not including the movies, the movie-wise. And this is not including like the My Hero stuff I've already here, Digimon movies over here, some Pokemon stuff over here. So I got a mix of everything. But I just I've just enjoyed what I've watched. Again, not everything is perfect in these series. Obviously, like I said, some of the TVMA elements can go a little overboard, and again, that is fan service stuff from what I've understood. So, and I know I have friends who watch anime, or their kids do. They're 15 or 6. They're 15. So, I try to ask them what they think of certain stuff. I just haven't had the time, or I haven't seen my friends in a little bit, so haven't had the time to really talk about a lot of the stuff and what all they have seen, and stuff like that. So, I just try to be open-minded to this stuff like this, and ultimately I do end up liking a lot of the stuff because I like the characters, I like the storyline, even if it's over the top and lewd a lot of the time. And trust me, it gets a lot, but it's still entertaining enough. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this. I would show you guys all the stuff, but it's so much on my table. So yeah, this is Brandon at the Movies, signing off. Peace.